Tracy McGrady is known as one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but his lack of success in the playoffs may be the reason why he was left off of the list of the 75 greatest players in NBA history. Throughout his 15-year NBA career, T-Mac only saw playoff success when he was 33 riding the bench for the San Antonio Spurs in 2013, when they suffered a heartbreaking loss to the Miami Heat. Throughout the entirety of those playoffs, he only played a total of 31 minutes. Throughout the prime of his career, McGrady played on the Magic and the Rockets. By looking through his playoff failures from 2001 to 2008, I'm going to find out whether his lack of playoff success was due to the team or if it was more of an individual problem. In 2001, the Magic finished as the 7th seed, which led to a matchup against the 2 seed Milwaukee Bucks led by Ray Allen. During the regular season, T-Mac averaged nearly 27 points, 7.5 rebounds, 4.6 assists on 45% shooting from the field and 35% from 3. The Magic ended up losing the series 3-1 as McGrady did all he can to keep the team in it while averaging 33.8 points, 6.5 rebounds, 8 assists on 41.5% from the field and 20% from 3. In this series, I don't think you can put much of the blame on T-Mac. He played at another level once he entered the playoffs compared to his regular season stats, but the team just couldn't get it done. His shooting percentage from the field and from 3 dropped, but being the main option on his team and constantly getting double-teamed didn't help. He gave it all he had, and he is not the reason for the Magic's failure in the 2001 playoffs. In 2002, the Magic finished the season with a 44-38 record, which was good enough for the 5 seed where they matched up with the 4-seeded Charlotte Hornets in the first round of the playoffs. During the regular season that year, McGrady was averaging nearly 26 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists on 45% shooting from the field and 36% from 3. Throughout the 4-game series, McGrady averaged nearly 31 points, 6 rebounds, 5.5 assists on 46% shooting from the field and 31% from 3, and the Magic lost in 4, ending their season. The team around McGrady just couldn't put it together in the playoffs. In a 4-seed versus 5-seed playoff matchup, the series could have gone either way. His stats remained about the same from the regular season to the playoffs, with the exception of his 3-point percentage dipping. T-Mac led both teams in scoring 3 of the 4 games, but the team once again couldn't put it together when it mattered the most. This is another playoff failure that could be blamed on the team around him. In 2003, the Magic just squeezed into the playoffs as the 8th seed, and they were rewarded with the 1-seed Detroit Pistons. During the 2003 regular season, McGrady was averaging 32 points, 6.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists on nearly 46% shooting from the field and nearly 39% from 3 in what was the best regular season of his career. McGrady kept his MVP-like play going during the 7-game series where he averaged 31.7 points, 6.7 rebounds, 4.7 assists on nearly 45% shooting from the field and 34% from 3. T-Mac and the Magic lost for the 3rd year in a row in the first round of the playoffs as they surprisingly pushed the 1-seeded Pistons to a thrilling 7-game series. McGrady elevated his game once again in the playoffs and exploded for 43 in a Game 1 win and again for 46 but in a Game 2 loss. This one left a bitter taste for McGrady and the Magic as they blew a 3-1 series lead and ultimately lost in 7 games, in what was the Magic's best opportunity in the McGrady era, and what-if questions would rise in the offseason. The team didn't offer McGrady any help as he put them on his back in what resulted in another first-round loss in what was once again a series where McGrady was not the problem. The next season, the Magic would miss the playoffs, and the following summer, McGrady demanded a trade and was shipped off to Houston to team up with Yao Ming and hopefully have different playoff results. In T-Mac's first season in Houston, the Rockets finished as the 5 seed to face off against the 4-seeded Dallas Mavericks led by Dirk in the first round of the playoffs. During the regular season, McGrady was averaging nearly 26 points, 6 rebounds, nearly 6 assists on 43% from the field and 32.6% from 3. T-Mac was electric throughout the series. He averaged nearly 31 points, 7 rebounds, nearly 7 assists on 45% shooting from the field and 37% from 3. McGrady once again rose to the occasion in the playoffs, averaging 5 more points than he did during the regular season, while also shooting better from the field and from 3. T-Mac and Yao were a dynamic duo during the series, but the supporting cast just wasn't good enough to push them over the hump. The Rockets blew a 2-0 series lead and lost in 7 games to the Mavs, and T-Mac once again blew a series lead to lose once again in the first round. But with his elevated play, you just can't put another loss on him. In 2007, after missing the playoffs the previous season, a T-Mac-led team felt like they might finally be able to get a round under their belts. But they did not. As the 5 seed, the Rockets faced off against the 4-seeded Utah Jazz in the first round of the playoffs. On the regular season, McGrady was averaging 24.5 points, 5 rebounds, 6.5 assists on 43% from the field and 33% from 3. Throughout the series, McGrady was averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists on nearly 40% from the field and only 25% from 3. The Rockets once again got up 2-0 in the series but ended up losing in 7 to the Jazz. T-Mac's shooting took a dip while the rest of his stats stayed about the same. The team once again couldn't get it done in another 4-seed versus 5-seed matchup. McGrady didn't shine like he usually did in past playoff series, and honestly, you might just be able to put most of the blame on him for what is another first-round playoff loss. In 2008, and for the second year in a row, the Rockets finished the regular season as the 5 seed, in which they once again played the Utah Jazz in the first round of the playoffs. As McGrady was slowly falling off of his prime years, this was seen as his last chance to succeed in the playoffs while being the main superstar on his team. And you could tell that his career was starting to decline as he was only averaging 21.6 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists on 42% shooting from the field and 29% from 3 during the regular season. But to no surprise, the Rockets lost once again in the first round in 6 games to the Jazz. Throughout the series, McGrady upped his game once again, averaging 27 points, 8 rebounds, nearly 7 assists on 42.5% shooting from the field and only 20% from 3. Even with McGrady leveling up his game once again in the playoffs, the curse continues as they lose to the Jazz for the second year in a row. It was another 4 versus 5 seed matchup where McGrady was once again on the losing side of things. T-Mac gave it his all in Game 6 in an attempt to save the season by dropping 40, but it just wasn't enough, and you could put the blame on the team for another series loss. Throughout the 6 first-round playoff losses during the prime of his career, I put the blame for 5 of the series losses on the team and only 1 on McGrady. But for those of you out there who may disagree and blame it all on T-Mac for choking when it mattered most, let's see how he fared in games where his or the other team could have clinched the series. In these 12 games where T-Mac's team or the other team could have clinched the series, T-Mac averaged a great 31 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. Not bad for a choker, huh? McGrady showed up when it mattered most, but the lack of a solid supporting cast throughout the prime of his career was missing to reach any type of playoff success. T-Mac wouldn't sniff the playoffs again until 2012 when he was riding the bench for the Atlanta Hawks. In 2013, his team finally made it out of the first round, but he had nothing to do with the results or the team's success, as the Spurs made it to the finals, but lost in heartbreaking fashion after holding a 3-2 series lead against the Heat on some random lucky wacky shot. That would be the last time McGrady was ever in the playoffs, as he finished his career without a ring on his resume. 4 of his 6 first-round playoff defeats took place in the 5-seed versus 4-seed matchups. T-Mac was never surrounded with a great team that would be able to clinch a top seed in the conference, and instead had to settle for a mediocre team, resulting in tougher first-round playoff matchups that were not in his or his team's favor. It seems as though T-Mac was just unlucky when it came to the players surrounding him during the best years of his career, and like I said, his lack of playoff success in the playoffs is not completely on him. It really does make you wonder though what kind of playoff career he could have had if he stayed in Toronto with Vince Carter and possibly Chris Bosh. Would they have won multiple championships? I could guarantee at least a deep playoff run.